Pasquale on the inside. Davison fans the throttle, drops into second, and Van Gisbergen is on the attack in third spot on the run to 4.
Van Gisbergen got a great start. Now we're trying to feint left and fire down the inside, but Wills across it. He had it absolutely measured. Contact there with Mark Winterbottom. Was that LeBrock, I think, on the left-hand side? They bumped into turn 4. Someone else has got damaged and parked on the left-hand side.
Golding was mixed up in that as well in the subway entry. Heaps of congestion in the midfield. Courtney in some push and shove. It's a Tickford wall of cars out there. Randall was mixed up in it. So was Jake Kostecki. 0.3 of a second in favour of Di Pasquale on the opening clear lap for him. Then Davison, a tiny margin, then back to Van Gisbergen, who's dropped Feeney off. Turn 8. And having a look down the inside is Mostert on Feeney. Brock covers. At the apex of 9, who's that squeezing down the inside? And Kostecki. I reckon it's Kostecki.
Yep.
It is in 99. Tries to close down on the truck assist car, and that's going to be tied through 11. Ooh. Remember, the tyres are relatively cold, brakes are relatively cold, but their minds are already switched on to 110% commitment for pace. Into the final corner. And again, Mostert has a nibble on Feeney, who's starting to just get a bit of congestion going behind him at the moment. Standing lap time was a 27.6 for Di Pasquale, and he's got a third of a second over Davison. Oh. Crossed up and sideways was Feeney. He only just barely managed to wrestle out the other side of that one.
He only battled to gather control of that car as it come off the curb at turn 2. He had a big handful of opposite lock. He had the whole car across the curb. And Mostert now looks very dangerous. He's got genuine car pace over Feeney, and so does Waters.
So a real bottleneck developing here, and this is going to be an intense battle because there's a lot of pressure to get clear air and get to the front. Anton's already earned that. There's a game now being played between Davison and Van Gisbergen. Feeney does have fresh air, but he's got the best part of 3 or 4 cars stacked up behind him. Apex 8. Margin shot is out now to 0.6 of a second. Anton over Will. Meantime, Brodie showing pace, and Cam sneaks one down the inside and grabs a spot in the process. Puts a move on Mostert. Remember, they are arguing over second in the championship with a 91-point margin between them, and it's in favour of Waters at the moment. And he's now grabbed a critical track position. Van Gisbergen's a little closer, Mark.
And that's a nice move by Waters, because we had Mostert battling with Feeney only a second ago. He's 70 or 80 metres behind him now. So that was a very impromptu, nice manoeuvre by Cam Waters. Now, Mostert must have had a drama through 8 because he was vulnerable at turn 9.
He was a bit wide. So that was what helped that process. Anton's got 3/4 of a second now over Davison down the inside. Done. So Heimgartner looks like he's got a bit of a battle here in the early laps as well.
That's right.
There's Will Brown who's grabbed him. So there's lots of little clusters of cars around the field here at the moment. They're all trying to sort themselves out in the early phase. It's Di Pasquale over Davison, still the shell cars at the top.
Holden.
Van Gisbergen over Feeney, then Waters, Mostert, Brown, Reynolds, Heimgartner, Brodie Kostecki, who we saw making some moves, Hazelwood, LeBrock, Winterbottom, Courtney, Golding. That's our 15.
And the movers and shakers, Brodie Kostecki up 4 spots to 10th, and Courtney up 4 spots to 14th.
Heimgartner's looking vulnerable for some reason, so maybe whatever they've changed isn't great. Maybe the tyre set isn't good, or the matching of the tyres isn't good, but that's the second time that he's been cleaned up down there. Wind the clock back for just a tick and go back to our start. Watch the shell cars, very even starts for both of them. And in the end, Davison just had to fan the throttle and drop back in. Van Gisbergen made a good start, and he was able to drive the racing line through turn 2. So I'm hearing on the radio that Heimgartner doesn't have tyre pressures fully up at this stage, and that's why he's battling. And they were 3 wide down there at turn 4.
This is on board with Van Gisbergen. So he got a better start than Feeney. In fact, of the front 4 cars, probably Shane got the best start. This is the point you made. Will had to just turn it back in. Now, I thought that Shane was going to have a dive, and he does his traditional flick left and then dive right. But Will was across it. He parked in the middle of the road and give him the option of firing down there. It was actually a nice bit of track positioning from him. Mark Winterbottom. This will be on. This will be wild. Put yourself in the driver's seat here, folks. A bit of wheel spin. That's James Golding to your right. And then as you approach here, that's all you've got. Cars in front everywhere. They're all running over curbs, moving it around. Now, this ends up as a bump. As we go up to the top, that's LeBrock, and then bang. So he actually ends up making contact with LeBrock. LeBrock did a nice job to stay on the island.
He got tagged from behind as well. When that happens, when they all run down the inside, brake early and run slow, and you're on the outside, you actually don't always want to be there, but you're compelled to have to press on with the job. You're stuck with what you got. And that was the replay of what happened there between Cam and Chaz. Chaz running just a little bit wide previously, and that was the incentive that Cameron needed to be able to move up and get a job done. Scott Pye running wide down here at turn 14 as well. In fact, running very wide, so much so that he's actually last in the field at the moment. Now, you can't afford too much of that, clobbering those tyres on the apex of turn 1, given the number of laps that have got to be achieved in this race, and you need absolute pristine aero performance in the car. So if that front bumper gets dislodged, not good news. Now, Van Gisbergen's having another little sniff around here. He's looking for some fresh air at the moment on the run into turn 8.
And the whole essence of that is to try to come off turn 8 with a run, so that you put the car in close enough proximity to the car in front to have a dive. But he was probably 2 car lengths back. He made some moves there yesterday from 3 or 4 Ks back, but they were guys that weren't as fast. You can't take those liberties with the guys at the pointy end, because they're already on the braking threshold.
Spread across the top 10 cars is already 7.1 seconds, but critically, the spread across the top 4 is just 2.5 seconds at the moment. And we're approaching the opportunity with the CPS, the compulsory pit stop window opening, where people will come in and they just have. So Brody's in, LeBrock's in, Percat's in. These are people that are looking now for fresh air.
Strategy of this is important.
Be ready, boys, be ready. Give him a bit of room to get him. Give him a bit of room.
Stop. Oh, he went over that wheel hard. That wheel was sticking out, and he run over that very hard.
You can cop a penalty for that. You've got to make sure that those around you've got clear passage. That'll end up being looked at in race control.
Sometimes it's easy, well, it's easier to run over it with the back wheel as you come out, because the back wheel doesn't go. In fact, the radius that you come out of your bay changes the way that you attack getting back out in the fast lane. But he did it with the front wheel. Bang!
Yeah, so there'll be a discussion, no doubt, between Erebus and WAU about that, and race control may have a view, because what the end game is that the organisers don't want equipment bouncing around for obvious reasons. Jack?
Yeah, one of the reasons why Percat had to hit that wheel as such was Brody stopped about 1 metre long in his box, so Nick had nowhere else to go and clean up that wheel, so long stop for Brody.
Okay, that. Yeah, that actually explains it, doesn't it?
.9 of a second for Anton De Pasquale to Will Davison. Here's Slade. So on board now with Van Gisbergen. This will give us a real insight into where Shane's car's got some strengths, because there's nothing in the first 3 cars. There's only 1 second effectively separating the first 3 cars. And what he does, and just look for his line, what he does is he turns it wider, turns back tighter, and comes out of the corner straighter. So in terms of the way he tunes the car and the way that he attacks the corner, it's more of a immediate turn, steering input, later apex, straighter exit. That's the style that Shane uses to very good effect.
Making very big changes on those anti-roll bars as well on the run into and then out of 8 and then down into turn 9. So great opportunity to see what the balance of this car looks like. And I can also sense more cloud cover beginning to build over here at the moment. You can even see it from the Century Batteries chopper shot there, that there isn't as much direct sunlight on the racetrack. So the fastest lap of the race currently belongs to the lap record holder, and that's Chaz Mostert. Pye's recovering. He's back up into 20th now, knowing that there's been a few cars that have come in and pitted. We'll keep a bit of an eye on Brody Kostecki because of what they've done and where they've parked him. He's actually got a heap of open track at the moment, and he only took a little bit of fuel. And for some yesterday, that worked out. For example, like Nick Percat didn't take a lot of fuel in his first stop yesterday, and then getting some fresh air made a big difference to his ultimate finishing position. So Brodie ended up pulling on 44 odd litres of fuel in that first stop.
That's that power steer. Looks a bit power steerish, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you take a look at that red lever in the cockpit of Shane Van Gisbergen's car, that's the rear anti-roll bar lever, Neil, that you mentioned. Now he's bringing it all the way back. That's going back to full soft. So he's running the rear bar full hard for turn 8, the fastest corner. That's to negate the aero wash as he follows Will Davison. And then he goes back to full soft for getting drive off the hairpin at turn 9. So Shane's always been very active at adjusting the anti-roll bars in the cockpit during the lap. But I would imagine that next time he's right on the rear bumper of Will Davison, he'll have that rear anti-roll bar full stiff to try and get a good run through 8 to have a look up the inside at 9.
Yeah, and what interested me in that shot, Garth, though, was the range. So he was basically going from full soft to full hard and then back again. So it wasn't like a click or two like you often might do. Here we go, Reynolds is into the lane now as well. And that'll be also to try and see whether there's some undercut benefit and some fresh air available. So another tyre set goes on. They'll squeeze some fuel in. As I said in the Hino Hub, we don't exactly know what they start with in terms of fuel. We know that it's going to be around about 75 litres, but it's plus or minus. You play with that number and you play with your fuel delivery in these 2 compulsory stops.
Go, go, go.
Pither in as well in the Coke car. We've got 70 laps remaining. We've got a 1.1 second margin. Di Pasquale over Davison. Van Gisbergen sitting comfortably in 3rd.
There's your gaps. So Di Pasquale to Davison to Van Gisbergen. Feeney's made some ground on this group because he was a long way behind earlier. In fact, he was vulnerable. If you remember, only a few laps ago that Mostert was right in behind him. So Feeney's actually made some ground. There, of the field there, one of those 6 cars will win this race. So if you have a look at the 2 factory Mustangs, the 2 factory Holdens, Cam Waters and Mostert, of those 6 that have basically got to a point where they've got a 4.8 second bunch of cars within the top 6. One of those, in terms of strategy, pace, minimisation of mistakes today, will be standing on the top step.
So Brodie's got the fastest lap of the race. Scott McLaughlin, as I said, pre-race joins us in the commentary box. We're just interested to get your thoughts, Scott. There's a couple of things. Your old friends at the Shell V-Power Racing team are looking pretty comfortable there at the moment. They've actually opened up a bit of a margin over Shane. So 1st to 3rd now is just a little over 2 seconds, but not enough to be comfortable. But I was a bit surprised by the amount of range that Shane was going through on that roll bar change.
Yeah, that was something that we slightly developed at other teams as well, almost a quick adjuster for the rear bar, so you stiffen the rear bar as quick as you can. Shane does it manually, but other teams do it with a quick adjuster, very similar to what you see with the brake bias.
What's your take on the race so far?
Oh, man, it's I'm really enjoying it. Obviously, Anton is probably just trying to pull away from the pack. I know Ludo was always on to me about trying to get away from the pack as much as I could in that first stint and minimise risk of people jumping in front of you. But Will's obviously in the range of double stacking right now, so he might be pitting to get out of that.
Replay here between Nick Percat and Chris Pither at turn 7. And does this get sorted nicely? Yes. All by the Queensbury rules. After you, sir.
Just hark back to the 1990s with those 2 liveries, with the Coke and HRT. You drove for both of them, didn't you?
I got both the suits. It's not too late. Scott was minus 50 or something at that stage.
Oh, I wasn't even a thought.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go easy, go easy.
Personal best lap for Van Gisbergen on the last lap of the 21.5, and that car of Jack LeBrock's is still breathing pretty heavily out there at the moment. We saw it about 2 or 3 laps ago, and it didn't look too flash. Personal best lap also for Thomas Randall on that last lap. .1 seconds the margin between Di Pasquale and Davison at the moment, and the teammates have got just a little cushion over Van Gisbergen, who's just got a nice rhythm going there, sitting in 3rd. He's 2.1 seconds from the lead, 0.8 away as Brock gives it away and comes in from position 4.
And that's the double stack that we were just talking about.
And that mitigates that risk. just in case we get a safety car, which we saw 3 times yesterday. You can see Garth wandering through the back of shot there. He'll keep a very close eye on this stop.
About 5 seconds. Make sure you got a gear. Standing by. You're going to be clear. Go.
So that looked all fairly straightforward. So in on lap 11 for Brock Feeney for a total of just over 37 litres of fuel. They've all done much the same thing on the first stop. The least amount of fuel that I've seen was Jake Kostecki, 37.7, and the most amount of fuel was Brody, 44.5 litres of fuel. So they're all in a similar range, and they're looking at the sight gauges on the side of the tank there to verify the precise amount that was delivered so that they can understand what's got to be subsequently delivered into Brock Feeney's car. 140 litres is the requirement by the rules today of the BP Ultimate Racing fuel to be able to be squeezed into that car. In rounded terms, the total requirement for the race is about 215 litres of fuel.
So that sort of gives us a guide. You've got to put 140 litres in as the part of the fuel drop requirements, and at 215 litres for the race, you've roughly got to start with 75 litres. So the complete fuel usage for the race, but again, some of that's been affected by the pace and clearly a bit more consumption than normal. There's a left-hand front locked for Randall over the change of surface that Scott, you've been talking about. Oh, and he's off the road now, so that might be damaged front tyre as a consequence.
The left front will hurt. It's going to hurt more than the right front, being obviously a clockwise track. So that's one's going to hurt him balance-wise.
Yeah. And you won't want to attack turn 8 with a big, bad, flat spot going.
And Tim Edwards said to me this morning that that car's in a lot of trouble after all the damage yesterday. They've put a Band-Aid on it and sent it, but it's going to need a lot of work back at the shop in Melbourne to be able to resurrect it. In the meantime, Cam Waters is squeezing on some pace here at the moment from 4th position. So he's 4 seconds off the lead, and he's only got 3/4 of a second over Mostert. Who was that?
That's Will.
I think
is that Will, I reckon?
Yeah, Richard Harris voice, yeah. So unmistakably Pitt.
but important, because they've just done the same thing as the Feeney scenario. They're just trying to minimise that drama with a possible double stack.
They're responding to Brock. Yeah, because Brock's gone out and just done sector best in the first sector, so they can't afford to give away any margin. So this is a response to 88.
Mate, waiting on fuel, getting close here. Okay, we've got a couple of seconds to go. Go.
And they didn't really have a huge margin over Brock before that stop, because Brock had made some ground back. So this is the rejoin.
Confirming mechanical black flag, car 34.
So that's a mechanical black flag for Jack LeBrock. That was the voice of Paul Martin I could hear in the background. So that's from the heavy breathing that we saw. Whether that's power steering or whether it's engine related, we're not 100% sure. So I just want to understand how much fuel that Will took on. Again, it's in that same range of about 44 odd litres of fuel. And that's to do also with just how much space is available at that point in the race. So here is Jack in the truck assist entry. That car was in the wars somewhat yesterday, as was the team car of Todd Hazelwood. Hazelwood's blazing along nicely, though, in 7th position at the moment.
So Cam Waters on the previous lap was the fastest car. And then on this lap, with fresher tyres, Brock Feeney's been very fast. So he ended up doing a nice job on that previous lap. And I'll get to the bottom of the car 34 issues. And this is, I think these two guys are effectively baiting each other there with Waters and Mostert, because they're trying real hard in terms of their car pace to get themselves.
Oh,
that's not have a go at that.
Teams, bad sportsmanship flag to car 17, exceeding track limits.
So exceeding track limits early in the game for Will Davison. I was just about to say something because I saw him tumble down the order, Todd Hazelwood, and then the replay confirmed what I suspected, because I called him 7th a moment ago. Now he's 11th. He's had the world's biggest sprint car slide out there between 13 and 14. And we saw a bit of that yesterday. If you got offline, if you got a little bit crossed up on 13, and then ended up slightly wide of the line. There's no coming back.
There's a wind out there that is going to not be helping them into 13 as well. It's pushing across the nose, and that might be hurting them on the entry to turn 13 now.
Yeah. Well, who was it yesterday? Scott Pye, wasn't it? That was a monster moment. Yeah.
He got lucky with that.
He did get lucky, for sure.
So in the broadcast compound at the moment, they're suggesting 34 degrees and 10 to 20 kilometres an hour from the northwest as a breeze. So it has picked up a little.
Brock looks really racy. He's done a really good job in those first 2 laps on his outlap as well. The drivers were saying overnight that it was really hard to get the tyres up to temp after the pit stop. So he's done a really good job there.
He has. So he's effectively made ground.
Yeah.
So his pace was quite good. He was gaining on Van Gisbergen before the stop. Coming, put fresh tyres on, did the fastest lap of the race, and he's right there now.
One more tyre there, Jerry. Give it a push.
That's very early in the day for car 17 to have to deal with the fact that they're out of lives for curb hops down there at turn 2. David Reynolds now showing the fastest lap of a 20.9. Personal best lap for Van Gisbergen, sitting now in 2nd position, and a personal best lap for Winterbottom, who's squeezed up now into 7th. So it's a 2.5 seconds between ADP, between Di Pasquale and Shane, and 3.9 seconds between Di Pasquale and Waters. And Van Gisbergen's now starting to squeeze some pace. And we've seen this on a few occasions where it's something of a miracle that he can still find that peak performance late in the tyre life. And he's probably on target. If he completes the lap like he's doing out there at the moment, he could end up with the fastest lap again.
Yep. So 20.94 was the number, and that was originally Feeney. Then David Reynolds did a 20.94 to beat that lap. Now Shane's just done a 20.82. So Van Gisbergen, fastest car on the track. Mostert was the 2nd fastest car on the track on that previous lap. So Mostert, who's just done his personal best with a 21.1, he and Waters are trying not to lose contact with the leaders. Like, they're right on that cusp. They're almost 5 seconds away from the lead.
So Golding in the subway entry we're watching on the right-hand side.
Go.
1.4 seconds, that margin between Di Pasquale and Van Gisbergen. Now that gives either team, depending on who blinks first, the opportunity to decide when they stop and how much fuel they take.
You can see Chaz coming down the back straight, trying to find clean air already. Very early in the race, be doing that, but obviously the temps of the brakes potentially are getting really hot.
Yeah, and even just straight out water temperature too. This time of the race, you just want to make sure that if you don't have to be stuck right in the slipstream there, you don't necessarily get any disadvantage at all from just dragging it out of the toe in that area. So he just moved it over, get some fresh air.
There's only one bloke in the commentary team that can fully decode that.
Hey, what did he say?
What did he say?
I'm 2 years out. I've lost it. But, he would just say, be nice and smooth, maybe. I don't know. That's the normal chat. Have a drink.
You'd have to do a month of French exchange to get back in check.
Well, again, we just don't want too much of that down there at turn 1. So this is a frequent occurrence, I've been told. So Anton's actually clobbering those tyres down there. We've got problem with someone in the wall. It's Jake Kostecki, turn 8.
Turn 8.
Tradie entry has wiped the concrete and off comes that wheel. This will trigger a safety car. So the safety car will come out with 61 laps remaining. Reese on the radio.
No, get back.
Safety car boards and flags.
Safety car has just been triggered in Adelaide for Jake Kostecki, car number 56. And that's our race director, Vince Ciccarello, off to his right, our left of screen. And so unfortunately for car number 56, Jake Kostecki, here's the replay, wide at turn 8, and 8 eats another car, and that's shifted the wall, plucked the left front wheel. Tim Edwards will have dropped his head significantly because that's more damage at Tickford.
Exactly the same spot as Thomas Randall a couple of days ago too. You could see Randall's marks, and Kostecki went straight across them.
So didn't look like he got the inside curb. He's just gone in too hard.
Just wide.
And once you're wide, there is no grip. Look at the energy being soaked across the front of the car. And so now everybody reacts. Everybody in the top 11 so far has come in.
Guys, I'm done waiting on fuel here. So it'll be good to go on your drop.
Fortunate for Feeney and Davison to have made those stops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at this, boys. So Anton gets out by a car length on Shane. That was critical.
Certainly was.
So they've preserved their track position. So very important for Anton to get out in front of Shane. But remember that Will, who'd already done his stop, and Brock will profit from their position, having taken their stops early. But it now puts them on divergent fuel strategies that we'll have to keep a very close eye on.
So, yep, 62 litres for Van Gisbergen and 65 for De Pasquale. So that's roughly 20 litres more than what their teammates did.
Yeah, so as I was saying, we have to watch what the fuel is going to do in terms of the ultimate delivery, but right now track position belongs to the guys that got in and took that early 40+ litres for both Davison and for Feeney. So they're 1 and 2 in the field. De Pasquale is next, and seeing on my timing that Reynolds is separating De Pasquale and Van Gisbergen. That must have happened on the racetrack because the Shell and the Red Bull cars came out line astern of the pit lane.
That's right, and Reynolds had already come in for his stop under green. So he was behind Feeney effectively.
Just in terms of getting to the rejoin and that safety car line at the right time. That's why they've split De Pasquale and Van Gisbergen. So the reason for this, once again, Jake Kostecki, car number 56, the tradie entry, clobbering the wall down there at turn 8. A lot of damage, and unfortunately it claims another car. Now, boys, this is going to get very interesting from a strategy standpoint. Here's the replay.
Oh, wide. Wow, is that car with wide?
Yeah, meters.
Yep. And that's from the turn-in point.
Yeah.
You turn in too late. Unfortunately, you just can't get it back with the tram tracks.
Have a look at the energy. So those...
To rip a left front out, it's unreal.
Isn't it? Like, just the forces are just extraordinary. But to move that wall, Scott, they're 4 ton, each of those barriers. So they do a very good job. The reason that there's 2 separate walls down there...
Oh, the wheel.
Wheel's gone across. How was that? It almost got Scott Pye. He knew straight away that was there, and it conveniently heads back to its owner on the left-hand side.
What did Baz Sheen say back in the day? It's a control tyre.
Yeah,
what he said?
Control.
Yeah.
Good memory. Well done. So you can see that damage, but what's purposely done at that corner is there's effectively 2 walls. The inside wall is a little bit like the NASCAR-style wall or your Indy wall, where they use it. If you glance off it, it absorbs the energy. It actually moves the wall. It's part of the engineering structure of the event, where we don't put the next wall straight out. So you've got almost a demarcation wall and then a wall that actually covers debris behind it. So there's 2 walls there.
Yeah, so it was very lucky for Scott Pye while that 20-odd kilos of wheel and tyre was all happening. There's the reason for the split between the 2 cars that I picked up on the timing. So Reynolds was able to get in there and separate those 2, which is actually bad news for Shane Van Gisbergen. It makes his job just that little bit harder, and there is a tiny bit of fuel variance. Rihanna?
Jack LeBrock, it's been a really rough weekend for Matt Stone Racing. Unfortunately, you find yourself in the garage. What's the problem with your car at the moment?
Not too sure. We had an oil leak again, so we had something going on in qualifying, a bit of oil and smoke and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sure what it is, but it's a shame. I felt like the car was quite speedy then. We went early. We went a different strategy to try and see where it would play out, but it's a shame. Like, the car was feeling quite fast. It's been fast all weekend, so shame we can't finish the race on a high and this year on a high, but yeah, had to go with the bad, and we'll regroup for 2023 and go again.
Got the helmet on, of course. The guys are going ahead, working as fast as they can, hopefully thinking that you can get back out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we need to try and get as much championship points as we can at the moment. There's with the pit lane order and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, every point counts. So hopefully get the car back out there and we'll circulate, get some points, and yeah, and go have a couple of beers tonight to yeah, enjoy the year.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Gee, you talk about temperature. We talked about tyres seeing like 150 degrees on the surface out there. This is that right front you saw Tommy Randall lock up, what, 10 minutes ago? Now, that's still 80-odd degrees there, and we can see his flat spot. This is why he had to come in and pit. There's his flat spot. There's another little bit there. Now, problem with those are you can still run around. That'll still have grip, rattle your teeth out at 240 k's an hour. But the problem will be as you try and use the brake again and the wheel goes round, it'll grab on that flat spot, and that'll just get worse and worse and worse. That's why they pitted him early.
Mark Dutton, team manager for Red Bull Ampol Racing. Just a question, why didn't you short fill Shane to get in front of Will, get track position?
Yeah, we actually did a little bit. It's pretty hard to do because you don't want to just do a time and then they chuck in a heap more and you've really sold yourself short. So you've got to see them drop and hope that all your cumulative reactions are still quicker. In this instant, they weren't.
So that was a very complicated way of saying you tried to beat him out and you didn't.
Exactly.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, guys, I decided to come down to Walkinshaw Andretti United to have a look at the water temperatures of the engines when you were commenting on Chaz Mostert getting clear air. 102 degrees on engine coolant. Not great. I asked engine guru down there, Roger Higgins, what do you do about that? He goes, last race of the year, mate, nothing we can do. So they're planning for the worst case if they get too hot, but they do lose a lot of power, and sometimes during the safety car periods they get even hotter because the airflow through the radiator doesn't happen. One more developing story down here. Will Brown's cool suit actually failed a few laps before the safety car. The crew did a great job in the pit stop, opened the passenger's door, noticed a fuse was blown. They replaced the fuse. Cool suit's back underway. Will Brown, a very lucky boy to get that cool suit going now.
That's a lifesaver, that one, isn't it? That's the fix of the weekend. You do not want to do a race like this with a cool suit failure. It's like putting an electric blanket on you. So, I tell you, I don't think I've ever heard the radios go as hard as they're going at the moment because everybody's being told the relative tyre life of all the people around them. So Van Gisbergen has been told that Dave Reynolds' tyres are 10 laps older. Mostert's been told that Brody Kostecki's tyres are 13 laps older. So they're all, in terms of communication, trying to understand what the performance is going to be like as we recommence this race.
Water temp for Mostert's a little bit of a worry. You want that to be a good 10 degrees or more cool, ideally, but I mean, it's not a day for it, is it? Just the temp out there at the moment is huge, and if you're back in the queue, it's not just the single car in front of you, it's the effect of the multiple cars. We're green one more time. 58 laps remain. Davison's got control of the field from Feeney. They've made some profit from slightly early stops and a little less fuel than the next group of cars just behind. They're all trying to cycle some warmth into tyres and brakes one more time. And remember that Davison's out of lives when it comes to the turn 2 curving. Feeney has a look. He's moving it around under brakes. Oh, Will's got the slide on. There could be the crisscross. This is going to get sticky. Nose to tail contact in the left-hander at 5.
And now Van Gisbergen's around the outside of David Reynolds. That was where he had a drama. Similar sort of location.
Brody on Shane and Cam. And the whole train rockets on by. And that's going to make life pretty tricky now for Van Gisbergen. Waters is up the inside here of Brody as well. It is on.
And he's got to back it off. He had to back it off there.
Oh, he's got the wall. Brody's got the wall. So as Cam was able to go down the inside, Brody's given the wall a whack. His teammate will go underneath him as well. Now, is that copped a bruise that will take that car out of play? Heingartner's off the road on exit. They've got no grip on the restart as the tyres have cooled out and they've picked up, meaning they've got rubber, dirt and debris.
To all teams, bad sportsmanship flag to car 26, exceeding track limits.
So another car's exceeded track limits. This one's David Reynolds in 4th position. So Brody's given the wall a whack. Heingartner and Winterbottom. Winterbottom out wide. So crazy first lap or two now of this restart phase. And Tim Slade has to drive right over the top of the traffic island down there at turn 2.
So Brody didn't come in. So that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I thought it looked like it hit hard enough to have damaged the steering for sure, but...
He was out wide at turn 9, had a bit of stuff on his tyres potentially, but... Oh, Pepper now.
How was all this going on? Turn 5, turn 6, and then turn 7. And it's not often that Shane Van Gisbergen gets his ears boxed.
Yeah.
He was actually being aggressive to drive around the outside and ended up, the 4 or 5 cars went down the inside.
I reckon he was thinking about yesterday's crash with Mostert and he was trying to be a little bit safe and then it's almost too vulnerable. Now pass here.
Down the inside comes Shane on Will Brown. That was a nice move. So that claws one back, gets him back into 7th position now. He's still got the quickest lap of the race against his name. But it's a little telltale for the future as well about the restart and managing your tyres, your temps, and the relative grip that you've got at that moment. If we get another one, Here's a replay of some of the stuff going on into 4. So this was Feeney on the attack, and the slide here from Will. He got it on the curb, gave the wall a little rub on the way out, and then we caught this one. Brody gets the left rear up on the wall as Mostert gets underneath him. And he has pressed on in car number 99. He's gone down a spot now into 10th. Courtney's moved up one. Here's the replay from the wall cam. Kind of gets away with it because he's parallel to the wall, but that might also be a challenge when it comes to the wheel change.
Same thing, he was wide.
Yeah,
He was wide as soon as he turned in.
He's lucky he hit it square.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he would have been bent for sure.
And it raises the question mark of what the wheel nut looks like and the hub in the middle
Golding
of all
off.
that.
That's turn 7, sorry Neil. Golding just understeered straight off the road and ended up planted against the tyre wall.
Race control to all teams, bad sportsmanship flag to car 18, exceeding track limits.
Mark Winterbottom in 12th position gets a bad sportsmanship flag and wide, makes a big mistake. Will Davison turn 9, change now for the lead. That's a gift for Brock Feeney.
He had a moment when he pushed the brakes, Neil, and it just had a little slide. It's almost like he locked the rears initially and just went wide.
So they're all really challenged on the ragged edge, on the absolute grip threshold in this restart, which is interesting.
I was surprised how early Will went on that restart, but he's obviously trying to get a gap with those used hotter tyres than what Anton and Shane had, obviously.
So now it's half second in favour of Feeney over Davison. Di Pasquale in 3rd position, and we've got a classic confrontation between Red Bull and Shell. Garth?
I think it's interesting to note there was about this phase of the race yesterday when we started seeing all the drivers making mistake. If they stepped that little bit offline, it was hugely punishing. You saw Van Gisbergen try to go around the outside at 5 and 6. That didn't work. Golding just that little bit wide at turn 7 into the tyre barrier. Will Davison a little bit offline. So what we saw yesterday with drivers making mistakes, that's starting to happen again. It was around the lap 25 mark when all this started to kick off yesterday.
And we're looking at the replay, thanks Garth, of what happened to Will Davison into 9, and Scott's assessment was accurate. So there was just a tiny little bit of movement in the back of the car. He locked the rear brake, and when you're threshold braking all the way into turn 9, you can't give a half metre away, and that's what's happened. And he's run wide down there and yielded that position to Brock Feeney. So more moves happening down here in the right-hander. Lee Holdsworth this time looking at Nick Percat. I wonder whether or not it's a bit more of that binder in the asphalt just starting to become unsettled, given that these tyres are grippy, the temperatures are hot. Garth's picked up on the fact that from a cadence standpoint, it's about the same point in the race. So there could be some other factors other than the restart and the slight cool out of the tyre.
And Crompo, to add to that point, I've been talking with Johnny Howe from IEDM, who do a lot of the track repairs. We talked about that binder coming out. That was the cause of so many incidents yesterday. All that gravel and junk just offline. Now, they've treated the circuit with a thing called Degrador and Ceratec and a whole lot of other technical things to try and hold that together. So it's going to be fascinating to go to Garth's point to see if we end up in the same place as we did yesterday, or do we not?
Indeed. So 6 seconds covers the top 10 cars at the moment. I beg your pardon, the top 6 cars. It's 8.5 back to the 10th place, Andre Heimgartner.
And just looking at all the numbers, based on who's got what fuel to put in, Mostert is the best of the lead group. Mostert's got 60 litres to put in, Waters 68, Di Pasquale 75, and Van Gisbergen 77.
Driver's eye view here, Cam Waters, turn 13, approaching 5th gear into the final corner, the right-hander, and Waters is in 5th place, and that's a view that we're seeing at the back of David Reynolds' car. He's just trying to nurse those tyres off there as well. 21.5 was the last lap. That one was better. It was a 21.3, so you can see what the driver...
all teams, bad sportsmanship flag to car 5, exceeding track limits.
James Courtney getting a wrap over the knuckles for exceeding the limits down there at turn 2. He's sitting currently in 9th position. So you're getting at home the exact information and seeing the precise position of everything for Cam Waters, what's going on with his dash. He's got his hands full there at the moment because tucked in behind him is a bloke by the name of Mostert that he's had 1 or 2 moments with over a period of time.
Even when they were teammates, they didn't play very well together, did they? Now they're in opposition camps. They're actually good mates, but they're pretty wild racers. Now, just to fill you in on the other part of the puzzle when you look at the leaders. So Feeney and Davison. Davison's got to put 96 litres in and Feeney 102 litres. So although they're leading, Mostert and Waters look like they're in good shape as long as they don't make a mistake here. So they need to be careful as they come through the field. Got the pressure of Van Gisbergen in behind them too.
Yeah, so for Chaz, 59.8, near enough 60 litres, and for Waters, 67.8. So nice handy little advantage there for Chaz as it was yesterday. And for the guys in front at the moment, they've got themselves track position, which is the key to the process. Gee, I tell you, Chaz used everything then. He had all four wheels over the top of the island as he tries to defend, because he's in turn got pressure from Van Gisbergen. He's probably got the worst seat in the house at the moment because he's trying to attack Cam and he's trying to defend from Shane and trying to maximise everything he's got with his own car. And one false move, one little lock brake, turn in slightly wrong, gas up slightly earlier, and you'll give the guy behind an advantage and you let the bloke in front off the hook.
Well, you use the turn 1 and 2 curb sometimes as a defence tool. So if the bloke behind you is close, you cut through and try and get a better run up into turn 4.
Yeah, it's effectively resistance.
Yeah,
isn't it?
you use it sometimes to attack, sometimes to defend.
Nice images there. Beautiful, the way the cars... When you think about it, you think about how hard these things are smashed over the curbs for 78 laps, for 250 Ks. How they survive, you would never know.
So one of the things that was interesting on the replay then for Chaz, I picked up the onboard seeing him hop over the curb. It was actually the slide at one that created it, because he actually had it on the slide on the rear brake from all the way back on the approach into one. Now Feeney's talking about garbage on the track as well on the radio. So he's got control of the field at the moment by 1.1 seconds. He's got Will Davison behind him. And we're looking at Shane Van Gisbergen from the rear bumper of Chaz Mostert. Now, they got together yesterday at turn 6. There was no case to answer, according to the stewards and the driving standards advisor. No driver wholly or predominantly to blame, so it was play on in footy parlance. But they're back together again in combat here. Both of those teams this weekend dipping their hat to the final run for Holden in the professional series.
Good run coming out of 7 there for Van Gisbergen. Pops it out just to get some cooler, certainly not cold air, cooler air into the front of that car. And he's made a very bold run, a very, very bold run through 8 then. He had absolutely as much of an attack as you could possibly get away with then, trying to get a run on Mostert. That was aggressive, it was well done. It didn't quite get him there, but man, you could not have used any more inside curb or any more outside room.
You're playing with fire.
Yeah.
You absolutely are.
Those two have had some really awesome exchanges over the years where there's been enormous respect shown between the two of them, being used in evidence to show support categories of how to race cleanly. It was a rarity yesterday that they actually touched, but that was an intense moment into the braking area then for Van Gisbergen, because he set that up. He tried very hard to get the best run through 8. If he's going to get it done, it will be turn 9, where he's probably got the greatest amount of strength. And if anything at the moment, because Chaz is having to cover a little bit more, see how he's just drifting a few millimetres away from the back of Cam Waters? Because he's now got an eyeful of that number 1 behind him.
And you can tell that Shane's mid-corner grip is significantly better than Mostert's at the moment, because he's able to run the car narrower everywhere.
Look at this.
No,
He's actually going to challenge
do the giveaway
to turn 8.
He's got it.
Done.
Go.
Yeah, so Chaz has actually just fanned the throttle. So you can sense when you don't have the firepower for the arm wrestle to fight back, and better to yield than end up in the fence.
That's always an awkward one, that drag race to the point in the fence where you have a marker where you have to either give up to the car who's in front of that marker for turn 8, so you go through their single file. They brought that rule in to make it less awkward at the middle of the apex of 8 to stop some crashes.
Car number 2's also copying a bad sportsmanship flag, I noted. Exceeding track limits. Feeney's our leader from Davison and Di Pasquale. Van Gisbergen 6th. He's hammering along in behind Waters now. He's cleared Chaz Mostert. This is where this got set up on the exit of 7. And he actually got such a good exit that I reckon at this point Chaz's like, I don't need to play here. So he's just lifted the throttle and then dropped in behind. He can get back to his own rhythm now remember that from a strategy standpoint, he's in better shape anyway. So Mostert needs to put 15.9 seconds of fuel in at the next stop, and for Van Gisbergen, he needs to put in 20.6 seconds of fuel at the next stop. So you can afford to be a little bit strategic in how you think about racing the other guy, rather than ending up with nuts, bolts and washers scattered all around the racetrack.
All he needs to do is sit in behind Shane and potentially follow through on Waters if Shane does get through past him.
Yeah, so a little bit of that will be just the strategy.
Yeah.
No one ever wants to yield to the other guy in this business, but sometimes you have to.
Did you see Shane on the onboard there? He's actually been able to get Waters too, hasn't he?
Yep.
So he's being very aggressive again now, but did you see Shane? He looked across, he got the inside of Mostert, he looked across, it was like playing a game of chicken by there. Was it, are you going to let me go, going to let me go?
Here
Down the inside, nice move.
Down the inside again. Waters sees him coming, and for Cam, it's a little bit the same, but not quite as tasty. He's a couple of seconds better off on fuel.
He came from a long way back too. He was, that was one of the big moves for him of the race, really.
But honestly, Scott, I reckon you could probably edit together 20 of those this year.
Yeah.
Turn one, Sandown, some of the moves at Pukekohe, some of the braking moves, how he's able to do the brake carrying, brake and turn, trail braking has been very impressive.
What's really difficult when you're braking with these cars is turning whilst braking in the braking zone under like intense brake pressure. So his car can really do it, and he can.
So now Van Gisbergen is closing in on the back of David Reynolds. He's 5 seconds from the lead. He was right on the apex target that time, Van Gisbergen. And he's making ground under brakes here. Then it's Waters, then it's Mostert. They resume their battle.
Race control to all teams. Bad sportsmanship flag to car 22, exceeding track limits.
Chris Pither in the Coke entry. So we'll have a look here at the behaviour of Shane's car and see what it's turning like. This last corner gives you a bit of an understanding of what it's like under brakes and turning. So it's a nice simple turn into apex and accelerate. Remember he said in the conversation earlier in the day in the interview that he wasn't happy with it as a quali car, but he thought it was a very good race car. Those pictures are confirming that. Oh, it was a little bit loose in the rear.
He had to turn out of the tyre bundle or he's going to hit it.
Yeah, caught the slide, only just. Feeney leads by 2 seconds from Davison. Di Pasquale, Reynolds, Van Gisbergen on screen here is closing on the back of David Reynolds, and he only just caught the turn-in oversteer on the run into turn one on that last lap, Shane Van Gisbergen. So he's cleared now Chaz Mostert. He's also cleared Cam Waters, but he does have a slight strategic penalty to deal with because he's got to put more fuel on in his next stop relative to a couple of the other guys behind him now. So Mostert and Waters are in the best position. Here we go. He's going to do the dive down the inside one more time, and David does not let him go. So easy. That was a lot of space. Slides down the inside. Done.
Yeah, very nice manoeuvre. And it was assisted by those tyres being a lot younger than David's. They were 10 laps fresher tyres there for Van Gisbergen versus Reynolds. Reynolds obviously stopped earlier. And now Waters having a bit of a look. He's going to be energised to make sure he doesn't get too far from Van Gisbergen. Although we've covered off the Mostert and Waters benefit with their fuel loads. Just seen Feeney, who's been the fastest car on the track for the last couple of laps, because he's got to put 102 litres in versus the others at, well, there's Mostert, say it's 60. He's got to put a huge amount more fuel. And then by the time you get yourself to a situation when you're trying to get that gap going, the only thing that does it for you in this section of the race for Feeney is clear air. So now, for Cam Waters, he's being held up by David Reynolds. And he's got to try to come off this corner now. So let's just see what he does. Here's Mostert and Waters. Can he get off there? It looks like he got off there quite well. He's a long way behind, but he's going to fire down there. And he does get it there. Does he get it stopped properly? And he escorts David off the road.
No exit space available, so that forced Reynolds into a position where he had to climb the curb. Mostert gets a benefit from that. It's a free kick for him. Now, Feeney's got that margin out nicely, so great pace for him. 2.5 seconds. But the great challenge for him at the moment is the amount of fuel that he's got to bring on in this next stop.
Settle back into your rhythms, fairly consistent.
And he was fastest on that last lap. Bunnings Trade Power Pass. Have a look at this one. And that was a nice move by Cam Waters. Set it up from a fair way out, and then making sure that there can't be a response. And for Chaz Mostert, easy meet.
Be interesting how Dave holds on now with that garbage on his tyres as well from the exit of turn 9.
Yeah, and they're older.
Older, that'd be a tough job.
Oh, how's the wheel spin? Nice audio to pick that up. I'm not sure whether Tim's really smiling given the amount of damage that Tickford have incurred this year. Another day of it. James Courtney's done a really good job. He's up 9 positions. So although he was poor in qualifying, he's raced very, very well today. In fact, he's gained more positions than anybody else in the field. Percat's up 8. Holdsworth is up 8. But 9 positions in a field like this is a very, very good job.
Been racing, it seems like they've been racing for a long time. It's only 50-odd minutes so far, still 43 laps to go, so there's a lot of complexity still to play out. There's a little bit more cloud cover, gang, which you can just sense out the commentary box window, but there's been no respite at all in the temperature. It's still just roaring hot out there at the moment, still showing 34 degrees, and still got that breeze coming at the present time from the northwest, Jack.
I was wandering past Brad Jones Racing. I noticed one of the crew members had the big bus steering wheel ready to go, which is what a lot of the teams use when the power steering fails. So what's happening to Macaulay Jones's car through turn 8, where there's the peak steering loads? The temperature of the power steering's rising to 132 degrees, and that's causing power steering failure. And I tell you one corner where you don't want that to fail, guys, turn 8.
No, that's for 100% sure on that one, so that's evil. Chris in there at Brad Jones Racing. They'll be nice and toasty, the boys sitting in the sunshine all rugged up with helmets and fireproof gear on. I noticed also on the rearward shot on the exit of turn 7 that James Courtney's car's got a lot of damage around the rear in the diffuser area as well, so rear bumper on that car's been savaged.
That was incurred in all that early concertina stuff on the opening couple of laps. In fact, I think Courtney was right in the centre of all that when they're all bumping each other into turn 4.
So we've got 42 laps remaining and a fastest personal best lap there on that last lap for Brock Feeney. So he's doing a nice job out to 3.4 seconds.
I think Frosty went in the wall at turn 11, just in the back of shot there.
Yeah, he's lost a ton of spots.
Yeah, and I'm not sure whether he got out. Did he get out? Just going backwards on the leaderboard by a mile.
Foot cam here with Macaulay Jones. Heel and toe up into turn 4. He's dropped down to 23rd spot. Mark Winterbottom. So turn 11 may well have trapped another in the background there that you've picked up on. Interesting.
Race control to all teams. Bad sportsmanship flag to car 11, exceeding track limits.
And on Di Pasquale, that's again. So both the Shell cars have got no more lives left very early in the day. So Will was flagged real early. So this is what you picked up on before. It was Mark Winterbottom that ran wide down there at turn 11. So another car falling victim to that slippery surface that we discussed yesterday. It looks like that may well be occurring again today. So he's dropped a bunch of spots now down into 23rd. Who was that was smoking heavily? Bad for your health and bad for your race car.
I think it was LeBron. Is it LeBron? Yeah.
It is.
I eventually get to a clumsy point here. Feeney going very quick with some tyres that have been used. So he's actually capitalising nicely with the fresh air at the moment.
He has. He's been the fastest car for a long time.
And if you go back to my point in the Hino Hub earlier in the day, where you want to finish strongly. You want to get to the end of your championship year. For him, he's come into the weekend 6th in the championship. It's his rookie season in the main game. Object of the exercise for him is finish strong, leave a strong impression in everyone's mind and his own. Think about it over Christmas and come back with the learnings for next year.
So we're not far away from the critical lap in our world. The number of laps coming up, only 3 or 4 laps away where we can get home if there's a safety car. But the problem is for these guys, you're going to double stack both. So right now, you're going to have a situation with Di Pasquale is going to be hurt by a double stack with Davison.
Yeah.
And Van Gisbergen's going to be, he's going to be hurt by Feeney.
When we had a safety car intervention yesterday on lap 38. So are you trying to will it? Because I reckon television wants it, but when you're a competitor and it falls slightly short of your ideal fuel window, that was a horror story for them yesterday, because immediately all the engineers lit up in their fuel save song.
Absolutely. Then the hard thing for Anton yesterday was the radio was gone.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to talk about, Macaulay with the footwork, this is one of the tracks I actually used to left foot brake and right foot brake. So the corners that I wouldn't change down gears, so I'd right foot brake into turn 4, but the corners that I wouldn't change down gears, like into turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, I would left foot brake just to control the platform of the car. Some drivers, like Macaulay, decides to, you know, use his right foot, but I really like doing it. I felt it was a quicker way to, you know, continue keeping the flow of the car. It was just, you know, some drivers do it, some drivers don't.
Yeah, no, I used to do exactly the same.
Yeah.
So in those 90-degree changes of direction, just use your left foot.
Particularly in the fast stuff. At Bathurst, I do it across the top. I know James Golding does it. It's a little tool that, you know, some drivers do, some drivers don't. It's just up how comfortable they are.
We sort of get less pitch. You can do it in a way where you don't actually pitch the car and change the amount of weight transfer, and therefore the car doesn't get as nervous on the entry when you do it well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh,
it's a fascinating skill. The other thing, and you can see him moving his foot around, the other thing you've got to be a bit careful of is 100% is 100%. And he's run wide down there with Pither up the inside, so you'll see that he's also going to be a bit judicious on the throttle application with his teammate Bryce Forward trying to sneak underneath him as well. Squeezing harder doesn't make you faster, it makes you tired and it leads to cramping. So you've got to be very careful that you don't overextend yourself in squishing the throttle all the time, trying to find something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, you've got to relax the hands going down the straight. You know, it's definitely you can tire yourself out. Call just letting Bryce through here.
I used to put my left foot on the throttle on those straights.
Shane does that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Just sometimes, just to give you a
I wasn't that talented.
No. I used to do it because I was actually buggered. Wasn't because I was trying to do anything.
Oh, he's in.
Off
He's
the
in.
wall. Davison's in the fence. Davison's gone straight ahead. We've seen so many cars off the road here this weekend. Mark Winterbottom just recently, a couple of laps ago. That was Heimgartner, but Davison has gone. He went in. Now everyone's going pit, but I think they think it's going to be a safety car.
Feeney's got a 5-second lead now too.
That's right. He's gone out 5 seconds. So that was Richard Harris who was just talking to Davison. I reckon what they'll do now is come straight in, throw some tyres at it, and bank on the critical lap.
Keep coming, mate. Keep coming. Hang on, turning in.
And was that a safe rejoin for Will as well? Because that was right on the edge, Garth.
Just having a look at the front of the car for Will Davison. Doesn't look like there's any significant damage to what we saw with Van Gisbergen yesterday. So just our line and length pit stop now for the boys, but they had to get into action really quickly. So trying to get maximum fuel in here to see if they can fulfill their fuel requirement. I'll check the rig once they're done.
Yeah, so they're looking for the full delivery of the 140. They're right on the edge of the critical lap. So recovering from having lost time on the edge at turn 11. They might recover from this if there's any more weirdness now in this last stint, if there's another safety car, because of the fact that he is potentially fueled to the end. But remember, he's got no more exceedances available to him at turn 2. And he's now going to run that tyre set very long to the end of lap. He's got 40 laps.
Di Pasquale.
All right, and a change for the lead. I beg your pardon, change for second. So Shane goes through to second, and so that's a second of the Shell cars making a critical mistake.
Inside front lock him. That's what it looks like.
So 2 mistakes by those guys in consecutive laps. Very, very big consequences in this race.
So they've double-checked the fuel rig in at Will Davison's pit, and he is fueled to the end, but he's now got to do 37, 38 laps to the end. Here's the replay of what happened.
He's got
Loose
a little
on
wide.
entry.
Yeah, we saw a couple of people do it yesterday, didn't we?
Yep.
So he was at turn 10, he was sideways. Then he was trying to gather the slide up, couldn't position the car in the right spot and went straight ahead.
Well, then you're too wide for 11, Scapey.
Yeah.
So you're wide at 10, which puts you wide on the entry to 11. You just can't get it back. So I was wrong. It wasn't a left front lockup.
And here's what happened to his teammate into the final corner.
Which I think
So
this was.
he's out very wide and locks, and then straight down the inside. The inside front does lock for Anton, and Shane's able to just skate through, and that's just easy. So some gifts there for Red Bull, courtesy of the Shell V-Power Racing team.
And Anton's saying over the radio his tyres are cooked. So although we said earlier we didn't really have any degradation, Di Pasquale's complaining that tyres are no good. Oh, in the fence. That's turn 8, that's forward. That's more damage. This will be another safety car. This will erupt. The pit lane will go completely mad now.
I'm going to leave it to you guys now.
Sorry, guys.
Now, how are they going to deal with a double stack at Red Bull?
Race control all teams, safety car boards and flags, safety car
car
boards and
confirmed.
flags, move a car.
Feeney's got track position. Now, this may actually help Will Davison.
Yes, it will.
So let's see how this plays. Remember, there was quite a number of disparities in fuel loads.
But remember, Feeney's got a massive amount of fuel to put on, 100 litres. Oh, there's been a drama in pit lane. Someone had just fallen over. There's something in the fast lane.
Yeah,
the hose or...
Well, the track assist guys, they've taken a line down there with them, I'd say. So someone's hooked it on a rear wing.
On a wing, yeah.
Haven't seen that for a while.
So waiting for Percat to get in behind Winterbottom and rejoins. It's intense out there at the moment. So they're all scrambling. Here's what's happened. They've
still in.
Yeah, so they've actually taken... That's the water bottle. So that's the refresher for the water. And they'll cop a penalty for that. And lucky nobody's been injured, it seems. They dragged the water bottle down there. So he wasn't able to unhook the dry brake on it. So they are going to double stack. Feeney had track position, which effectively hurts Shane. And he had a lot of fuel to stick in, so he had 100 odd litres to deliver.
He won't get out. You're supposed to sit alongside that car. So the double stack here, you will not be able to get out. They're going to be bluing here. There's going to be a...
Okay, go.
That was complete chaos. That was complete chaos. Mostert's come out in front. And based on the double stack, Van Gisbergen was not alongside the car, so he's parked it in front. Anton's not been able to get out. Plenty going on in there.
So they'll investigate what happened with the Hazelwood stop, but they've dragged a line and a water bottle down the road, so that'll be an automatic penalty because they haven't had control of their gear. Fullwood's about to step out. So this has got everyone fueled. Now, Holdsworth hasn't come in for his second stop yet. And Bryce climbs into the car. Oh, he had it massively sideways and has just thumped it into the fence like a speedway car. Though he has been fully disconnected in the rear of the car and has just whacked that wall. Oh. And so turn 8 continues to be a car eater out there again today. The field fully condensed, and Van Gisbergen's just been chewed up in that whole process. Feeney's back out now in front of Mostert. Di Pasquale, Waters.
We haven't seen one of those all weekend.
With the rear going in?
No.
No. Wide again, though, on entry.
Yeah, that's right. But he was sideways at the apex, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So is this car stopped? Not sure what's gone on there with Jack LeBrock.
Might be the red light, the end of pit lane, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he was parked there. We're going to try to work out what's going on. Van Gisbergen's going completely smashed.
So nowhere to go there for Di Pasquale. Feeney off and clear. Mostert gets Anton in that process. Cam goes with them. Van Gisbergen just time burnt big time in that process. It was a good call by Shell to be able to just yield with Anton so that there was some space. Oh, that was close though. Whether or not he was called on the radio or whether he actually saw that in the mirror is a whole other question. But an intense moment for everybody at the back end of this. So let's have a look now at what triggered this safety car. So check this out. A massive crunch. That's huge damage. And Brad Jones Racing have already been in the wall this weekend with Macaulay Jones, and that was well wide of the line down there, and he'd lost it before he got to the apex of the turn.
Yeah, Scafey, to your point, so there's actually not a rule says you have to park out here. So Shane didn't have to park here, but what the rule does say, because everyone does do that, is you can't impede another car. Now, I can tell you, there's a lot of cranky mechanics in here. Just spoke to Benny Croak, the team manager, very upset about what he just saw. Let's see if we can get a few words from Benny. Benny, you're clearly agitated about what happened. You felt your car was impeding the pit stop.
Yeah, I think our neighbours did us over there. Anton had to go and lift and try and get out of it. So, you know, that's the way it goes sometimes.
All right, thanks, Benny. I think your facial expression says it all.
So here is it from above. Understand what's happened here. So Mostert is able to claim Anton, and Shane drops in behind Brock. No space in that pit lane, and lots of unhappy people. They're tucked in behind the BP Ultimate safety car now. Brock Feeney's got control. Everyone's fueled to the end. Mostert in second place with a very quick car at the moment. Di Pasquale, Waters, Heimgartner, Brown, Reynolds and Davison, who didn't get the yield because he was so far down the field that I thought he might have. So that's the problem. When he stopped, he dropped down the order so much that even though he had the fuel and he had the tyres on the car at that stage, he does get some space back. He's in the top 10, but it's going to be a big job for him. But we're relatively equal across the field now in terms of tyres and in terms of fuel load. 33 laps remain, so potentially a full-blown sprint to the end. And on the basis of what we've seen, you'd be brave to bet against the fact that there won't be another safety car, because anybody that goes 1 mil offline is going to trigger trauma one more time, at least.
And it's going to be a 33-lap sprint. So when we do get this race restarted, it's the last third of the race is going to be on, and it'll all be about pace when you've got 4 or 5 guys that have been at the pointy end of the field the whole time. Feeney, Mostert, Di Pasquale, Waters, Heimgartner, Van Gisbergen stuck down in 12th.
Now, what we saw after one of the earlier restarts today also was that when they lost a little bit of temper and pressure out of these tyres, they weren't in good shape, because what that tends to do, obviously, is reduce your grip level. When you've got reduced grip, you use a bit more racetrack. When you use a bit more racetrack here at the moment, you could end up in the weeds. So that's going to have to be managed as well. And it's almost another of the procedural cautions that the car communicator is going to have to run through to just remind them of the fact that be careful.
My logic, I'm thinking, well, everyone's on the same tyre set as me, so that's a little bit better than it was used to new tyres, but you're absolutely right, Neil.
And the other thing is that there's a whole bunch of people out there, and I've lost track of them again, that are completely out of moves when it comes to turn 2. So they're probably going to be lenient at the restart of anybody jumping over the top of the curb. You've got a list there, Mark.
So there's Will Davison, Reynolds, Frosty and Anton. So for sure, Anton, as one of the leaders, is going to be compromised by using too much of the curb at turn 2.
And you need those up your sleeve at the back end of the race.
Yeah.
Because if you're under pressure at the back end of the race, there's a good couple of Ks involved in the advantage there for the run up to turn 4 where you can pass on the inside. So a huge moment for this young guy who's graduated into the main game. And as I said earlier in the coverage, he's sitting 6th in the championship after 33 races. He's been on the podium this year, and it's been a much tidier act from him today by comparison to yesterday, where he was off the road a couple of times, but he did come home in 8th position. He's just clicked over 20 years of age. Had his birthday after Bathurst, and he was tangled up in that Gold Coast shunt too, so they had a lot of work to do at Red Bull. They shuffled chassis in the process, so it wasn't a great outing for him last time out.
What this has done is effectively neutralised this race.
Yeah.
So the massive discrepancy in the fuels has been covered by the safety car. So the 40 litres difference between Feeney and Mostert, that's now been neutralised. And to your point, got the same tyres now. So everyone with fresh tyres, everyone basically with the same fuel usage, everyone's put 140 litres in, all that's done. In fact, they put a little bit more than that in pretty much everybody.
If I'm Chaz on this restart, I'm using one of my lives at turn 1 and 2, trying to get a run up into turn 4 and try and make this move on Feeney as quick as I can.
100%, and if I'm Chaz, I'm going to overlap at the final corner. I'm going to fire the thing down the inside and put maximum pressure on Feeney.
Yep, it's a young bloke. He's at the front of a big race.
Yeah,
he's
going to earn it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got some hungry operators around him who are going to be pretty keen to rough him up in the process. So we're just waiting for the green to return. 32 laps remain. Been racing for just over 1 hour and 11 minutes. And another lap under the BP Ultimate safety car before we can potentially go racing again as they continue to clear up after the Bryce Fullwood incident. Order again: Feeney, Mostert, De Pasquale, Waters, Heimgartner. Who's got the pace, gents? Who's got the fastest car out there at the moment, do you think?
Feeney's been strong. Yeah, I think he can hold them off. If he has a good restart, gets away, I put my money on Feeney.
Well, I did too, because his pace was exceptional in that early part of the last stint. But I think the key to the puzzle is how much pressure Mostert can stick on him straight away. If Mostert gets him, Mostert wins.
Yeah, it's the first 2 laps for Brock are critical to this stint.
And I would think that he will want to make this restart as late as possible, Scott.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going early.
Don't go early, because you'll understeer yourself into the final corner.
Limit the risk.
Exactly.
Now, Sam Potter just told Cam Waters on the radio, Brock's not quick at turn 8, and you're the fastest in that micro sector. So keep it in the back of your mind.
Do they all have curb stripes already?
So he's also checking in.
I think 11 does, 25 doesn't, 88 doesn't. I think it's just 11.
Yeah, so he's just checking in to see who's got any
Lights out,
extra
safety car.
lives. Lights are out now on the BP Ultimate safety car. We're about to go green again. This is going to be a sprint race. The strategy conversation now ends. Everybody's got fuel. Everybody's got tyres. You can see the yellow being indicated from the driver's eye on Cam Waters' steering wheel that the safety car is out. And this is the new system that the drivers are able to use as a tool to be able to know and understand what's going on around them. And supercars have been continuing to develop and enhance that through the championship season. Control of the field is now held by Brock Feeney. We have now gone green. They can't overlap it till they get to the apex. They can't pass till they get to the control line. Hold your breath, cross your fingers. Are they going to be able to get through this first or second restart lap? Was there a pass by Van Gisbergen at the last corner? Shane was very close to passing, and we've got Randall pointing the wrong way. So there was a bit of roughing up going on back in the pack. Feeney's bolted. Over Mostert, over De Pasquale, then Waters. We saw Randall pointing in the other direction, and there was a bit of shuffling going on at the final corner.
You're allowed to overlap, and I'm actually bewildered why there's not more of it. So what Shane did, I haven't seen the full extremity of it yet, but you are allowed to park the car down the inside and overlap. You can't pass.
So long as he's not in front of him at the control line, he's allowed to sneak up the inside. Excellent shot. Shows us how close the cars get to the edge of turn 7. So the cooler tyre flyer here on the restart. Looking good for Feeney, who was getting dive-bombed by Mostert and covers them off under brakes into 9. Mostert's running with him. They've skipped away ever so slightly from Di Pasquale. He's got a lot of pressure at the moment from Waters. This is the opportunity for Mostert to have a crack, and he'll think long and hard about getting that car positioned through turn 1 and 2 for maybe a look up the inside at 4 or down the other end at 9. He uses the curve at the final turn, but Brock's been fast. We saw he was the fastest car on the racetrack repeatedly in that last stint, and he's still got a margin in his hand at the moment of 0.49 of a second.
Through there nicely, Brock and Chaz. So Chaz has worked out that he's got to get that car off turn 8. That's the spot. So even on that opening lap, Chaz has had a look and he's been able to work out, this is my opportunity. How close was he to the inside wall there at 6? There was not a millimetre.
You have to be. If you miss it, you're out.
Yep. And this is the run.
Now, let's have a look at this replay. So look back in the pack and look for car number 1. He gets down the inside of Lee Holdsworth. He gets right up alongside him, but so long as he doesn't pass, and there's what happened with Tom. So Randall pointing the other way after contact with Jack Smith. So Van Gisbergen on board with him now. He sneaks up the inside. You're permitted to do that. And then he just hovers half a car length behind to put himself in position for a go at the other end. And we've got trouble at 9. We've got Reynolds, and we've also got Courtney, and Davison's parked up on the right-hand side. More trouble at turn 9. What on earth has unfolded down there? And there's a lot of dirt on the racetrack as well.
All clear, mate, all clear.
So it's turning into a ropey afternoon for Will Davison. Is that sector now all clear? Feeney's hanging on, 0.8 of a second over Mostert. He's actually skipped away, boys.
He has. Mid-corner rear grip on Feeney's car is better than Mostert's. It's got a lot of lateral rear grip. He's able to drive it through the corner with less rear slide, comes off the corner tighter.
So who did what to who down here? So it's a dive bomb. So Will slides into Reynolds. Brody's got nowhere to go. Will ends up rally crossing on the top of the dirt. Courtney's on the outside. We'll keep the live pictures alive down here as well. So down the inside comes Davison, into the side of Reynolds, who was chasing Brown, who almost gets tagged by Kostecki in the process, and Courtney's got nowhere to go.
So Will was defending and just went a little bit too deep defending, probably looking at his mirrors, a little bit of pressure there, and then too deep.
Well, he was defending Brody, wasn't he?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. What a calamity.
These races have been insane.
Yeah. So that's Brody.
Oh,
we're looking from the back of Will's car, and he's got the rears chirped. Once he locked the rears, he couldn't arrest the speed, and he's tagged the back of Reynolds because he's also on the dirty side of the road. We've got trouble here for Jack Smith in the live images. Sam Scafidi shaking his head. There are a lot of disgruntled people out there at the moment. So does Jack get back on? Yes. All going on out there at the moment. 27 laps remaining. We've been racing for 1 hour and 18 minutes. The track's slippery. There's a bit more cloud cover. We've got a 20-year-old who's never won a main game supercar race. He's leading, and here's the replay of what happened to Smith. Well wide between 13 and 14. Wipes it on the wall, plucks the mirror off, might have got away with it.
Jeez, we've seen some cars off at that spot too, haven't we? Feeney, there's no margin on the inside there, using every little bit of road at the apex. He's doing a really good job. Could this be the day for his debut win, the final race for Holden on the streets of Adelaide? Could this be one of the great moments
Race control to
for this young man?
15-second time penalty to car 17 for a driving infringement.
Yeah, so no surprise there for Will Davison. And just before we go to Garth, we've got a 4-day crowd estimate, which is fantastic news for this rebirthed event. 258,200 people enjoying the return of the Velo Adelaide 500. 258,200. Well done, South Australia. Well done, Premier. And well done, the city of Adelaide.
How good is it to be back in Adelaide? And it wouldn't be Adelaide if you didn't have a little turn in the weather. Guys, it is dropped easily 5 or 6 degrees out here in pit lane, and the cloud cover's coming in. So I went and grabbed my phone out and checked the radar.
And there is something out there. I'm not going to predict that it's going to come here before the end of the race, but wouldn't be Adelaide with a little twist in the tail.
What, sharks, robbers? What's out there, Garth?
A pair of thieves in the commentary box.
Thank you.
There's actually a trio.
Yeah, there's a trio now, mate.
Yeah.
Come on.
We've got a work experience kid who's also practicing to be a word thief. So Brock Feeney's got 1 second margin over Chaz Mostert. Anton De Pasquale in third. Penalty now for Will Davison, 15 seconds. They're done with their stops, so that'll get added at the end of the race. Van Gisbergen is steaming along here at the moment, fastest in the mid-sector relative to those out there. So he's already got the fastest lap of the race. It's a 20.6. He might actually improve on that, and he's trying to hunt down Will Brown now. He was dramatically held up in the double stack in behind his teammate.
Well, he was held up in the double stack, and then he was right in the middle of all that drama when Will Davison collided with Reynolds, and he was able to get through there. I don't think it looks like it's got any damage, so that was quite lucky. But at the same time, this pace now, he's just done a 20.4 for the fastest lap of the race. He's smashing them.
So the last sector and the middle sector for Shane on that last lap, the best we've seen in the race so far, 20.4 won the number, and he's all over the back now of Will Brown. So he's doing those numbers while he's ingesting a pile of heat. He's at turn 7. Just in front of him is Andre Heimgartner. These guys are 5-6 seconds off the lead of the race. So they're well and truly in touch here. And he's having a bit of a look down the inside here as to whether or not he might be able to have an attack. He's been super strong down here at turn 9 under brakes. Has he got some pace in hand here, and he has another lunge? And that's the job done.
Gee, that's a great move. That's a long way back Shane came from, and to stop it and turn it and go, it's good going.
There is, I thought, no way from that far back.
So that gets him from 7th to 6th. He's about 6 seconds from the lead at the moment. 25 laps remain. Brock Feeney's got just on a second. So he's already withstood the first blowtorch test, which is to get away from everybody off that restart. And now Cam is starting to square up with Anton De Pasquale here in the battle for the last spot on the podium. And he's getting closer and closer. Now we saw, and you called it before, Scott, there was a bit of evidence of inside front locking with Anton's car. He can't afford to have one of those little pinch moments with the front tyre. He'll end up tearing up a pile of space and lose a spot potentially. Now Van Gisbergen, meantime, he's gone faster again in sector 1.
Yeah, he is in absolute qualifying mode. He's got the fastest time in sector 1, 2 and 3. The cumulative number is the best of the race so far in terms of the fastest lap of the race.
Anton didn't get it turned down then. He was off the apex of the turn. It's a cool shot, isn't it?
That's great.
So that's
This
him
is
having a look at the anti-roll bar positions as well. He's also checking in his mirrors. He's fully focused on hitting the mark here. He's using curb where Anton is not, so the cars are set a little bit differently.
Love this driver's eye shot. It's exactly what it looks like, folks. It's best camera angle that we've ever seen inside the car.
Another new fastest lap for Shane. He just did a 20.44046.
What's this?
Now he's going to have a lunge down the inside of Heimgartner. He's going to do it easily at turn 4. Van Gisbergen, P5.
He's on fire.
Yeah, he's going.
These are the best laps he's put together this weekend. Heimgartner almost went off then.
So he's about 5.5 seconds now from the lead, up in 5th position. His teammate continues to lead. Fully pumped Shane Van Gisbergen's on the charge here at the moment. He's got this thing by the throat. He's just made a move on Andre Heimgartner. We're riding with him at turn 8 that had a big push through 8. He's making rear anti-roll bar adjustments to that car, and he's plunging it into turn 9. He is 5.57 seconds off the lead. Cam Waters 4th, Anton De Pasquale in 3rd, Mostert in 2nd, and Brock Feeney the leader by 1 second at the moment, and we've got 23 laps to run.
He is driving the wheels off this thing at the moment. He was fist pumping between turn 7 and turn 8. He almost made the fence on the left-hand side through turn 8.
Black flag for car 34.
Black flag for car 34, so for mechanical black flag, I beg your pardon, for 34 for Jack LeBrock. A lot of build-up of debris and rubber and marbles on the outside, guys. So again, if you sidestep here at the moment, you're going to be in strife. Look at the margin that Van Gisbergen's made over Heimgartner in one lap. There's the next group of cars. Mostert, De Pasquale and Waters are now visual to Van Gisbergen.
If I'm Brock now, the first box is ticked, the restart's done. You don't need to smash the field right now. You need to control your tyres, control your brakes, and save your curb hops, because you may need them at the end of the race, especially the way that Shane's coming through now.
Exactly right. Smith pulls to the right just to give everybody some space. Van Gisbergen's just gone faster in sector 1 than anyone else. He's gone purple again in the first sector. He clears Jack Smith in the process. 5 seconds is the margin. He's just made half a second on the last lap, Mark Larkham.
Pompey, let's have a quick look on our gap to leader. So here's Brock Feeney trucking along. This is where the safety car was. Right, Mostert, there or thereabouts, same pace. De Pasquale hanging in there nicely. Waters right on the money. It's game on, but check this out. Gizzies are coming. Look at that, the trend line. And where's the race end? Up here. Work it out for yourself, folks. Grab a beer, grab a coffee, sit down, relax.
21 laps to contemplate the answer to that question. Van Gisbergen. Next in the queue for him could be Cam Waters, and that's him with the Monster Energy Mustang up here at turn 4. Because Cam's got his hands full as well. And he's trying to put a move on there at the moment, because we saw Anton shallow into 5. They're running wide. He's run wide. They're going to gift another spot to Van Gisbergen. So as that little manoeuvre was being pulled there between Anton on the left and Cam on the right, he's run wide, and Van Gisbergen's just seen the seas parted in front of him.
Copy that, mate. Copy that. Let's just get this home now. Let's get this car home. You know where the situations are? Good job.
Meantime, Brodie Kostecki moved up 1 spot on James Golding as well. So Van Gisbergen now 1.2 seconds away from De Pasquale as this little battle starts to light up between first and second, between Feeney and for Mostert.
Yeah, it's a big battle, isn't it, for Brock Feeney. He did his fastest lap, personal best on the previous lap. He did a 20.8. And then based on the 20.3 for Van Gisbergen, it's still half a second away from what Shane's place was. Have a look at how much ground Van Gisbergen has made.
Last lap order as they cross the line this time. Feeney was the 5th fastest car. Mostert the 3rd fastest car. De Pasquale, because he had to cover, was the 21st fast car. Fastest car was Van Gisbergen, and Waters was 24th. So that fumbling at turn 5 cost those two guys big time.
This is it. This is the replay.
I saw it from the onboard of Shane. He'd be sitting there grinning, seeing all of that. That's just time burning. And then gone. An easy one. This is what it looked like as driver's eye. So he ends up outside turn 5. No grip out here at all.
Just listen to the marbles, the bits and pieces on the outside of the road there.
Feeney's our leader by 0.8 over Mostert. Mostert's in with a show. Feeney's in with a show. So's De Pasquale. So's Van Gisbergen. This is building. We've got 20 laps to go. What a great exclamation mark for the back end of the Repco Supercars Championship, and the wonderful news pre-race that Repco have extended their partnership with this series into the end of 26. Unbelievable race to cap out the end of our championship year. 21 victories so far this year for Shane Van Gisbergen. 5 for Mostert, 3 for Davison, 3 for Waters. Is there going to be an upset today?
To see those numbers, he is making huge ground, Van Gisbergen, on De Pasquale. And Mostert is filling the mirror of Feeney at the same time. There your lap times. Have a look at the 20.5, 20.7, 20.3 on the bottom there. The 4th man, Van Gisbergen, is roughly 5 or 6 tenths of a second faster. Look at the gap that he's made up now on De Pasquale. Now he'll be looking straight away.
He's going to try to pursue still 9 on the inside. Thank you, boss.
He will want, so Ludo's giving him a little bit of advice. But Shane, mid-corner speed here, imperative. He's a long way back. Does he dive? He dives. and can't quite get it done.
So much ground.
Yeah.
So much ground under brakes. You see the thing have a wriggle on the run into turn 8 in the back of Shane's car before he even got there. It's right on the nervous edge. He's got pace to burn over Anton here.
Watch the last corner.
He's positioning the car where he wants. He's under him, over him, around him. He's just got to be careful he doesn't end up out there where there's all that dirt and pickup available. Has a look on the inside at the final corner, uses a pile of curbing. So the next focus point for him is to get cleanly over the top of the traffic island. And is he vulnerable at turn 4, Anton?
Did a pretty good job, Anton, through there. Remember, he's got a curb strike, so he's got to be conservative through there, Anton. The setup is definitely getting off 8. So he's got great mid-corner speed. He's able to contain the slide, hold the car tighter than Anton Di Pasquale, and come off the corner with better traction and acceleration. So he had a big slide that time. He gathered it up, used the exit curve to minimise the slide like a motocross berm, moves it out, and this is it.
Hey guys, there's a thing on our screen in front of us here at the moment that the safety car restart procedure for car number 1's under investigation. This is for Shane Van Gisbergen. Now I'm wondering whether or not what he did when he did the overlap down at the final corner was within the rules. So it might be a case of measuring the millimetres here, but the fact that that's flashed up now means that someone up or down here is making a case, and now race control are looking at it. So somebody has seen it, discussed it, and it'll be about the car positioning.
It's to the apex, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're allowed to overlap.
Yeah, but is it before or after the apex? I need to go back and look at the safety car.
I always thought it was after the apex.
After the apex, yeah.
On that basis, he's got up there before the apex. So I don't want to take my eyes off this at the moment, because the minute I look down and look at the bit of paper that was in the driver briefing notes, something's going to happen. But I think that's what it'll be. In fact, I got a text from another competitor earlier that was suggesting that that might be the case as well. So if he got too far up the inside, then that'll be a case to answer. So that little brawl, which is pretty much under our feet, will be bubbling away big time at the moment. That puts another little twist in the soap opera this afternoon, folks.
This is the run. This is the run where he's been looking for. Now, I reckon he's close enough this time. He lunges, he locks the rears. He locks the rears, but he gathers it up. He's going to be on the inside for turn 11, and he's been able to get it done. Wow. What a great piece of car control at the end of the braking area there. He fired it in there so deep as Mark Dutton and Jamie Whitcup look on, celebrating the performance of their lead charger, but he got in there so deep, it locked the rear wheels in the last part of the stop. He caught it with some opposite lock, gathered it up, and stayed on the island. Well done.
And a lot of lively reaction in the grandstand on the pit straight. What was impressive about that was that he had just the right amount of rear brake lock to control the slide, slid it in like a rally car, rather than it hopping and skittering in there. So, nice move, P3, 4.4 seconds off the lead. Now it's a chunkier margin, it's fresh air in front. So it's 3.4 seconds to Mostert in position number 2. Here's the battle for the lead. And still, young Brock, 20 years of age, never had a main game victory, is in command of this motor race, and Mark Scaife.
Fastest car on the last lap, Brock Feeney.
Race control to all teams. Pit lane drive-through penalty to car 1, safety car restart bridge.
Oh my goodness me.
Drive-through, mate. We're going to drive-through for this.
Car 1, PLP, done for the safety car restart procedure. So have a look at it.
For what?
Listen.
The safety car restart.
So,
how can they do that?
Overlap before the apex.
That's the apex, he made a mistake.
Overlap before the apex is what they're saying. Shane's saying he went wide and missed the apex.
Joke, man, that's one of the worst calls. Oh well.
So he's got a PLP. So car 1, Shane Van Gisbergen, position number 3, has been given a whack by the umpire. Roland Dane, Jamie Whincup in conversation at the back of the garage. So Brock Feeney, Chaz Mostert, a penalty over Van Gisbergen's head, and Anton De Pasquale in third position. Safety car restart infringement. You saw it again. I saw it at the time in the restart call, but you got so many things going on. I wasn't looking at where the millimetre positioning of the car was. But Garth, can you add to the story?
I can't add to the story, but the man that might be able to add to the story is Jamie Whincup. So, Jamie, drive-through penalty, what's your understanding of that?
Well, they did an investigation, then cleared it, and then they decided to reopen it again. What's under question is the overlap at the last corner, yeah, the car ran wide. So, anyway, we're serving the drive-through penalty. It's unfortunate, it's disappointing, but we've still got car radio out at the front.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's where some of the confusion will lie. And what Shane will be saying is that Lee Holdsworth ran wide there.
It's an awkward one.
Very awkward.
It's very close, regardless.
So Van Gisbergen rejoins. Macaulay Jones now with smoke coming out of the back of car 96. And Van Gisbergen rejoins in 13th position behind Nick Percat.
Helmet cam shows you the repair going on to Bryce Fullwood's car. Gives you a solid idea of what's going on down there underneath the cross member and that front rail and all of that damage repair that's going on. That's a big job when you're doing that kind of surgery at this point in the day, and Macaulay Jones has got some trauma with that car there as well. 14 laps remain. Feeney's got control. If anything, he's actually opening the margin on Chaz at the moment.
He is driving very well, Brock Feeney. Fastest car again on the last lap with a 20.9. His fastest lap of the race is a 20.75, so he's been relentless in terms of his consistency.
It's almost better for him to not pull away too much and keep Chaz's front tyres warm, brakes warm, all that sort of stuff, so he doesn't, you can't save and attack him later. So what Brock is doing here right now is controlling the race absolutely perfectly. Looks like he's been doing it for years.
Guys, I've just dived on the ops manual to dig it out because I knew I was going to have to and put my head down and read it. So in section D, 10.2.12.2, yell if you see someone cartwheeling through the other side of the universe. It is permitted for a car to overlap with another car, but only after the apex of the final turn, or such the turn has been nominated by the race director. So I'll just reiterate that again. It is permitted for a car to overlap with another car, but only after the apex of the final turn, which is the midpoint of the turn. So just to clarify that.
So what Shane will be saying is that Holdsworth ran wide. He drove up the inside. There'll be a lot of conjecture around where the actual apex is.
Yeah. Yeah. Holdsworth would say that the apex is late.
Yeah.
Shane would be saying it was really early. It just depends how your car is.
Yeah. So it does show the level of regulation and strict adherence to the regulations that prevails within the sport all of the time. Some days it works for you, and other days it works against you. And on that one for Van Gisbergen, that's a cruel blow. It was a tremendous drive at that point. 20.32, fastest lap of the race. It's roughly 0.4 of a second faster than any other car. Worked very, very hard to get back into the race. And then that penalty with 12 laps remaining.
Red Bull's counterpoint to all of this will be the positioning of car 10. And that discussion will be unfolding. However, the call's actually now being made by race control, so that's not going to change anything. But this is fascinating, guys. What's impressive about these two guys at the front, neither of them have blinked. They've almost been on a tow rope in terms of that margin. He quickly got it out to about 0.8, and then it seesawed between 1 to 1.2 seconds every lap subsequent after that last restart. So, and in fact, Mostert is just done the fastest mid-sector. We've got more cloud cover out there at the moment as well. 11 laps remaining. The view overhead, the Adelaide Parkland circuit. More cloud cover in evidence now. Brock Feeney's our leader by 1.1 seconds, and Mostert's got a big squeeze going here now. He's just gone faster in the middle sector of the racetrack from a personal standpoint, not the absolute fastest. Our sector fasts belong to Van Gisbergen in all three. But the guy that we're riding with here at the moment is now on a charge. He won yesterday, and remember, and you spoke about it on the host desk earlier in the day, Mark, and it was discussed yesterday. There's a gigantic arm wrestle going on in the statistic universe between the two teams for race win supremacy for Holden. So Red Bull and Walkinshaw are one race win apart in favour of Red Bull at the moment. Not that that matters right now when you're in the cockpit of either of these cars, but there's a bit to play for commercially off track.
And just for the history, so effectively, 888 as a factory team for Holden have won 189 races, and HRT, or the Walkinshaw organisation, have won 188. So one race between them, and could it be 190 for 888 or 189? An equal number for both organisations.
I'm going to go back and have a look at that incident again that's going to be spoken about controversially. So this is the onboard for Shane. So this is turn 13. Remember that they're just getting the green flag up at the front of the field. So he runs in here to the final corner.
Bumped him.
I think he's given him a touch.
Looking at that, I think he's definitely alongside before the apex of the last corner.
Yeah.
What's the bump hurt more?
So if they did actually also make contact, that'll be getting argued down there as well. This is the original view that we saw. It does actually look like there might have been contact. I got all excited and called it at the time that there was a bit going on back in the pack, but I reckon that's what's happened in the ongoing investigation of it. Lucko?
Yeah, well, let's have a look at it here in slow-mo, Neil. So there's your corner, your apex. Let's call it right about there. Shane Van Gisbergen there, Davey Reynolds there. So let's just quickly go frame by frame, and you can make up your own mind. I reckon there's a little bit of a touch there. You can see Davey's running wide, but the point and the regulation says you cannot overlap before the apex. Let's look. We're nearly there, nearly there. Now, there's an overlap there, so I'm just going to remind you. There you go. So apex is about there. He's already overlapped. He's a goner.
Yeah, thanks for the update there, Lucko. It's a handy tool to be able to look at it in super slow-mo and freeze things down there at the Hino hub. Now, meantime, Scott Pye has been having a pretty brutal days up to position number 14. He's also been given a warning now for exceeding track limits. The margin, by the way, folks, 0.8 of a second. It's going to light up at the back end. There's more and more. It's actually grey cloud cover out there at the moment, so the track's going to continue to be pretty speedy out there. The UV's diminishing. The temperatures are still high. This race is far from resolved. 9 laps to go. Anton's dropped off a little bit now. He's 5 seconds adrift. You can't really see him too clearly in the background by comparison. But this is far from over at the front end of town. 0.8 of a second is the gap between Feeney and Mostert in position number 2. Can Mostert generate a second win in 2 days? Can Feeney create a first victory ever in his career? And that'd be a fairy tale for him. It's still showing 34 degrees out there at the moment, but the track condition will change. It'll liven up with a little bit of shade.
I'm sorry, but I used to hate getting told how many laps to go.
I was just about to say.
I would say, don't tell me, just let me drive. I'm just going to focus on what I need to do.
Exactly. I was just about to say, don't tell the young bloke there's only 8 laps to go. Just keep your head down and drive it properly. He's driven very, very well today. Just whatever happens from here, Brock Feeney has driven very well today. There's no doubt about that.
He has done an awesome job, and there's been a heap of times where we've looked down at our last lap order here and seeing the number 1. That's Martin Shorty's engineer. So on that last lap, best way to protect the lead, potentially win the race, is be the fastest guy. Brock Feeney was the fastest car out there on the last lap. The second fastest car was James Golding, down the order a bit at the moment in 9th position. And the third fastest car was Chaz Mostert. The margin now just opens ever so fractionally again back out to 1 second.
And the reason James Golding is going so fast, he's got a very angry Shane Van Gisbergen climbing towards him. He's 1.5 seconds behind him. So if I was Golding, I'd be trying to get out of there also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chaz is using a different line on the run into turn 11 there. He's actually using the cushion up on the berm effectively on the outside of the approach to turn 11. So here is Holdsworth in the foreground, followed by Brodie Kostecki. These fellas are battling for 7th and 8th at the moment. There is in the background the subway entry of James Golding. And in behind James, we've got Shane van Gisbergen. They're 23 seconds off the lead of the car race, and it's still 0.8 up the front. 7 laps remain. Holdsworth in his final ever run as a full-time driver. We will see him again. That's a fair whack in the left door of Brodie's car, isn't it?
It's definitely got some damage on a lot of these cars. It's been another pretty wild day. Lee Holdsworth, who was caught up in the centre of that controversy with Shane van Gisbergen. In his final full-time drive, Lee Holdsworth is 7th. So he's trying to keep Brodie Kostecki at bay. Brodie's very aggressive. James Golding is 1 car back, and he's very fast. And just behind James Golding is one very, very fast Kiwi by the name of Van Gisbergen.
Brodie's doing a cool thing after this weekend. He's got a brand new helmet that's all done in the special livery for Erebus, and he's auctioning that off for charity for victims of the South Australian floods. And obviously there's some folks in various parts of Western and Central Western New South Wales and South Australia that have been pretty deeply affected. So all of the funds and the proceeds that he generates off the back of that auction are going to help some people who are doing it a little bit tougher at the moment. So well done to the team and to Brodie. Now that's important, guys, because up front, Mostert's gone quicker in Sector 1 and Feeney's gone quicker in Sector 2 on this lap. 6 laps remain. 0.8 is the margin. It's going to be a nail-biter all the way to the end of this thing. So for Feeney, yesterday in his career was race number 35. He's only done 14 events in the main game, but he's been racing all his life. He's done karting, he's done Toyota 86, he's done Super 2, he's done lots of cool things. He's been Dunlop Series champion, he's been Kumho Series champion. He's had a lot of wins under his belt, and if you go through the toilet roll list of what he's done in a go-kart, it's mega. But he has not won a main play supercar race. If he can pull that off today, that will be mega. The guy behind has every intention of ruining that story.
Absolutely. And there's the numbers. There's nothing in it. Lap after lap here. The gap is 0.69 right now. And Mostert will be so energised to win the final event for Holden. Brock Feeney will also be energised by the same thing. But as you pointed out, Neil, to have your debut win on the streets of Adelaide for the final factory team effort for the great brand would be extraordinary.
Wasn't there a bloke in 2006 named Whincup that won in car 88 in his first V8 supercar win?
I reckon it
Way
was.
back in the day?
Yeah, I think it was. Spookily similar, isn't it?
Kind of weird, isn't it? Still a long way to go.
Maximum attack now from both of them. 5 laps remain in Adelaide. This is the conclusion of the Repco Supercars Championship of 2022.
5-second time penalty to car 5 for exceeding track limits, overuse to turn 2.
James Courtney, excessive use of the track limits over the top of the curb at turn 2. He's got a 5-second penalty hanging over him. 3/4 of a second. Feeney doing everything. Second fastest car on the racetrack last time. The quickest car was Van Gisbergen. He's 10th. And the car that we just got a glimpse of the nose was the 3rd fastest car on the last lap. They have got nothing left, guys. They're fully grip limited under brakes. They're fully grip limited over the top of the curb. They're fully grip limited off the corner, trying to find every last squeak of traction. And no matter how much they feel as though they need to break the rhythm and escape the bounds of the limitations of the grip that they've got, what they've got is what they've got. And Mostert just made a little mistake down there that time.
He did. He had big slide going, a lot of wheel spin. And that final sector's knocking Mostert around. He was actually on for his fastest lap of the race on that previous lap, and that mistake at the last corner. See how he dumped some time there in that last sector. So 32.9, the fastest for Van Gisbergen. He did a 33.27, so almost 4/10 away in the last sector.
You want to try and hustle. You want to try and create something that can't be created. Right now, the tyres are hot and greasy. The brakes have seen their best. The drivers have probably reached their peak They're beginning to run out of water. They've played this game solidly now for 2 straight days. It's tough.
It is, it's tough, and mentally it's so hard. They've both got their curb hops left over as well, so they can run through the chicane in the last few laps here as well.
Yes, well, they've actually, both of them they've got some lives left, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I heard Adam de Borre say to Mostert a lap ago that you haven't been warned yet about your life through turn 2. So there's the 2 organisations. 888 on top. Below, Ryan Walkinshaw and Bruce Stewart from Walkinshaw Andretti United. A 1-2 battle. It's a very fitting way to finish this final Holden event with 2 factory teams, 1-2. Still yet to be resolved as to what the order is, but a very fitting way to tribute the brand.
Fastest car on the racetrack in the last lap was Chaz Mostert. We're getting a glimpse of him just in the background and trying to make ground to close off these last few metres to have a lunge. He's running out of time. For Feeney and his supporters and his team, this is going to be huge.
Feeney is so close at this apex. You watch how close he is at the apex. Every lap, he makes the apex slightly later than what Mostert does, but when he does it, he runs the right-hand wheel right against that inside guardrail. There is no margin there.
I don't mind it, though, because you're not putting yourself up in the dirty stuff either.
Yeah.
So, but I tell you what, these next 2 laps, I'll be running straight to the chicane if I'm on Brock. I'll be using all my lives.
100%. Yep.
Coming into the final corner now, when they square it up and run down pit straight, we've got 2 laps remaining. It's officially 3/4 of a second. The cars have seen their best. This is going to be maximum qualifying attack to the end. We hope you're enjoying this show. We hope you've enjoyed the 2022 Championship season show. It has been mega, and it's going to finish with a gigantic crescendo as they throw these cars over the top of the curbs and give it their all. Right now, Brock Feeney is on target to do something pretty special.
They both just drove those things across that curb at turn 2 like they're never going to drive them again, which is pretty much right.
His dad, Paul, was a racer. He was a superbike racer. It's in the blood. They've been racing all their lives. This young bloke has been running with a steering wheel in his hands since he was a kid. He's opened the margin. There's 1.5 to go. It's now 1 second. Has Chaz got anything in response? Di Pasquale has dropped off. He's now 7.5 seconds behind Mostert. This has been a critical corner. Nobody can afford to blink and make a mistake through turn 11. 0.9955, officially the margin between the 2 cars.
Brock Feeney has done enough on that lap to take some pressure off himself on the final lap. That was a critical lap. Give me the numbers, because he was, again, slightly faster. He was the 2nd fastest car. Van Gisbergen was fastest, but he was a lot faster than Mostert.
Scott McLaughlin is nervously shuffling in here like he's driving the lead car. This is a big lap for Brock Feeney. His family are watching. His team are watching. Martin Short, his engineer, will not blink, will not breathe. Roland Dame, dare not take a breath. All of the sponsor group in the background are watching this. They've invested in Brock Feeney. They took a punt. He's 6th in the championship. He's staring at the numbers. He's got to tackle this critical corner one more time at 8. He pops out the other side. He's got just over a second in hand. Now the critical braking application into turn 9. Out the other side. He's got to negotiate the highly slippery turn 11 one more time. And he clears that process. He did it shallow. He's done it easily. He's got a 1 second margin. He's got to put the foot on the brake for that final opportunity to stop this car. And he pulls it up nice and straight. At the apex of the turn, Brock Feeney advances the throttle. Brock Feeney, take a bow. Your very first supercar victory. And it is farewell, Holden. What a way to finish for the 20-year-old. What a way to send off the nameplate.
You can do this, mate. You can do this. Just look up for the engine.
And Chaz Mostert, P2.
You are a legend.
First ever win for this man. Great drive.
Absolutely fantastic. Life-changing day for Brock Feeney. 20 years of age, wins one of the biggest races in this country, and he wins the last race of the official Holden factory racing in supercars. What an unbelievable result for him, and what a day, what a drive.
It's a pleasure to witness that. I had goosebumps as he goes across the line. What an awesome moment for the young bloke to win Holden's final race for Triple A and his first race in supercars. What a place to do it as well in front of all these fans.
That was Roland Dane in tears. Martin Short, the engineer, in tears.
Awesome job, mate.
Brock Feeney with a sparkle in his eye and some smoke in the cockpit.
I'll tell you what, in sector 2 through turn 8, he did his personal best on the last lap. That's pretty brave.
It is. Absolutely. 78 laps in and you throw it in there at 8 and hope it comes out the other side. Good on him. Great young guy.
Shane's come up to congratulate him. That's a nice gesture, Neil.
It is. And he pressed on at the end there. Van Gisbergen finished in 7th. So I rattled through some of the things that he's achieved. I wonder where Mum and Dad are. They'll be down there somewhere.
Yeah, I just saw Dad just down there with Roland just then. So this is going to be a bit of a burnout-a-thon now because he got one doing it. We also know that Shane's going to do this based on winning the championship. So spectators are going to be treated to plenty of post-race activity.
It's Ian Holdsworth as well.
Oh, last race for Holden. I missed that one, sorry.
Yeah. Hopefully he's been listening to Shane on how to do burnouts, because I tell you, Shane's very good at them.
He'll be blown away by this. And a big comeback from yesterday. He was off the road twice yesterday, came home in the top 10 in 8th position. So to be able to achieve that victory today, and he didn't blink. So in that last stint, every time we looked down, fastest, fastest, fastest. So he did it with speed.
Yeah, that last stint was phenomenal for Brock. Really good.
And he led 54 laps of 78. I mean, that's not just lucky. So Shane now celebrating his Repco Supercars Championship victory for 2022.
When I interviewed him the other day, he said he was going to do that. I'm glad he did. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. And how appropriate to do it over the top of the Adelaide, South Australia sign for the final event. I picture that engine's loving that.
Yeah. I don't reckon the bitumen is.
And a couple of cheap valve springs that we can give away here. Wow.
I think he's going to get out of the car while he does it. Shane's still running. Still running. How good is that?
That's awesome.
Hey, minute. Does he know? At the track.
Oh, he's got it.
He's blocked something on the throttle, hasn't he?
I want to check the fuel number and see how long it's going to run for.
But he's blocked the throttle. He's blocked the throttle to keep it going. We'll have to talk to the Premier again about resurfacing this joint.
Do not attempt this in your own home.
That's funny.
Well, 21 victories for him in 2022. Another bundle of points today. Supremely confident and accurate performance in 2022 to be able to pick up another championship.
Yeah, tyres, both rear tyres are blown out now. So let's stop. That's it.
3 times Supercar champion. Runner-up in 2014, 2018, 2019, P3 in 2020. Scotty, you've had some ripping brawls with him along the way as well. Some good stuff, some bad stuff, and in between.
The one thing about Shane, he races you how you race him, and there's always respect there. That's why he's been voted driver's driver for many years. He's a proven champion, and he deserves to be champion this year. It's been phenomenal.
Smouldering into Pertec victory lane. Shane Van Gisbergen having won a championship, and for Brock Feeney, a mega moment with him. It's time to celebrate with Jess.
There is plenty to celebrate down here in the Pertec victory lane for the Red Bull Ampol racing team. We'll get to the champion, Shane van Gisbergen, in just a moment. But what you're seeing right here is the future putting a full stop on the past. Brock Feeney, congratulations. You become just the 83rd driver in the history of supercars to win a race. Talk to me about the emotion of this moment, the embrace with your dad, with Roland Day and all the people that have been through you, there with you for this journey.
I can't believe it. Yeah, it's been an awesome year, but I felt like the win was always so close, and to get it at the last race in front of all these fans for Holden means so much, and everyone that supported me, it's been one hell of a ride, and you know, in that race I was out to show that hopefully next year I can be a contender.
You've just written your name into the history books here today. You become the second youngest ever driver to win in supercars, the youngest ever driver to win the overall event here at the Adelaide 500. Tell me what your dad said, what RD said, what you were thinking there as you took a moment to take it all in.
I don't know, I was just so stoked. I mean, Chaz had me under pressure, but I felt like we had a bit more speed, but those last few laps are pretty tough. Just trying to stay focused, but I mean, I'm always going to remember this one, the last one for Holden, my first ever win. I can't thank everyone for coming out. It's been an awesome weekend.
Tell us what was coming over the radio on those closing laps. How did you keep the heart rate down and the focus pinpoint?
Yeah, I was pretty zoned in. They were just trying to keep me calm, but I was under a lot of pressure for the whole race. But they had, you know, I had a wicked car, and yeah, I don't know what to say. It's just probably the best moment of my life so far. So thanks everyone that supported me. I love you guys, and it's only the beginning.
Final win for Holden, and it's all yours. Go and enjoy the moment.
Thanks very much. We'll go big tonight.
And we'll come and say congratulations to Chaz Mostert back here on the podium at the Adelaide 500. That was a hell of a drive this afternoon, Chaz.
Yeah, thanks. Tell you what, the young bloke next to me here could drive. I put him under everything I could, but unfortunately we're just a little bit too hot to put on a proper charge. So yeah, look, what a fantastic weekend for our team, you know, to get 1-2 yesterday, finish up with a second today. Just need to qualify a little bit better and we'll be in the hunt, but yeah, look, just ecstatic to finish off the year like that.
Just tell us what it means to the team, given your history with Holden, to Ryan Walkinshaw, to Bruce Stewart, to all of the boys that have been with this team for such you know, a long time. What does it mean to be up here on the podium on Saturday and on Sunday? Yeah,
well, yesterday getting that 1-2, I swear everyone in the garage was just happy to put the garage rolling doors down and finish it there. But obviously to back it up with a second today, I mean, we're super proud of that result. We just, like I said, start a little bit too far back, but the history of this team, what Holden has meant to this team, I think it's pretty fitting that, you know, the Holden Motorsport, the new HRT probably wins the last race. So we'll let them have this one. We'll come out swinging next year with a new brand on the car. I just want to thank all our supporters at Walkinshaw and Andretti United over all the years. We know a big change is coming. We can't do it without you guys' support. So thanks so much, and let's get in it tonight, eh?
Scores out, Chazzy. Go and enjoy.
Thank you.
And a big congratulations to Anton De Pascali, who started out of the pole position on the podium here today. That was a tough race this afternoon.
Yeah, hard race for us. We led for a bit there, and then it got pretty hectic once that first safety car came out. So happy to get a podium at the end of the year and get ready for next year now, yeah.
What does it mean to the team to finish on a high, to have a trophy to take home on the last day of school?
Yeah, it's awesome. You always want to end the year a 1-2 on the grid and then a podium. So it's some champagne and some silverware to finish the year. Obviously would have liked to be in the contention and win it, but not today. So we'll fight on next year, and looking forward to it.
Enjoy the podium.
Yeah, thanks. Cheers, everyone.
And we're just going to try and have a word with our championship winner for season 2022, Shane van Gisbergen. That's it, the year's done, it's over. You are the champion. Congratulations. Just talk us through the emotions at this moment and what it was like out there on top of that car with this crowd.
Man, I hope you enjoyed the show. I gave that everything, but thank you. Don't die wondering. I wanted to make it a Holden 1, 2, 3, and when I got into third, I was pumped. So pretty gutted and baffled they gave us a penalty so much later. But man, I'm so glad that Holden 1, 2, and Brock to get his first win and the team to go out on top. Yeah, ripper, and I'm so glad to be back here at Adelaide and see the stands full. It's awesome. Cheers.
Time now, though, to celebrate the championship and the year that you've had. It's just been unbelievable. One of the highlights, Pukekohe, no doubt. How do you look back on it? I mean, everyone has made the comment that you are in the form of your life. You must be so proud, and to have your family here to have been able to celebrate it all year, extra special.
Yeah, definitely. They missed coming last year, but yeah, I've just had a great car all year. Team's been awesome, and still ready to go. We should put another set of tyres on it and keep skidding. That was fun.
We loved every minute of today and, of course, the rest of the year. Congratulations, you are now a 3-time Supercars champion.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Lee Holdsworth, 510 supercar races. The final one as a full-timer is done. Didn't start off the best, but boy, you came through the field. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Ree. It's not a bad way to finish. You know, we fought our way through. I had a really good race car, not so great qualifying car all year, but we fought through. We did our best, and we beat Erebus in the championship, which is great. That was our main aim for this weekend. Pretty cool to finish up. You know, I came ninth. I wanted to hold Shane off there for the last lap, but got in the junk and went straight ahead. So big thanks to my team, all our sponsors, Penrite Racing, and of course my family, Alana, the kids. So many people to thank. Guy McIntyre's been a great help over the last couple of years as well. So I got so many people to thank, but yeah, I'm going to enjoy retirement, I think.
What went through your mind as you saw that checkered flag? You crossed it one more time.
Oh, you're always disappointed, you know. I was 7th on the last lap and came 9th, so I was a little bit disappointed about that. But then I thought, hey, I better drop a burnout because you know, I thought before the weekend, win or lose, I'll drop a burnout, and haven't got to do that in a while. So I hope the crowd enjoyed it, and I saw my mates hanging off the fence there around turn 11, and it's a pretty cool inspiration to have everyone here, and I've enjoyed seeing everyone at the Adelaide 500. It's been an amazing event. Yeah.
Congratulations, Lee. A fantastic career.
Big moment for Lee Holdsworth. Let's check out our unofficial results for you. And Brock Feeney, having qualified in 3rd position, wins his first supercar race. Chaz Mostert, position number 2. He did it after 78 laps of racing with a margin of less than a second. Anton De Pasquale, the first of the Fords, in 3rd position. Cam Waters, big weekend for him. Followed then by Heimgartner, Brown, Van Gisbergen, up and down today, but an unbelievable show at the end. Kostecki and Holdsworth, who we just had the conversation with, and James Golding in 10th position. Lots of stories of woe and a whole